Technology is filling all of the spaces for children to actually be able to. Someone who's interacting in online dating is also online all the time, is also removed. People are scared of re-traumatization without really knowing what re-traumatization means. When I started to engage more with my womb, with Tantra, with my body, I realized that I'd pretty much completely abandoned my feminine.
Okay, on the show today, Chantelle Raven. She is founder of the Embodied Awakening Academy, based in Bali, does all sorts of interesting stuff with embodiment and Tantra and different practices. Has been doing this stuff since she was a kid, apparently, just grew up with parents who were doing, I believe, personal growth work. Also trained as a lawyer. Is that right, Chantelle?
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, well,
So I'm based
well,
in Perth, just small correction there.
oh, so I know you're in Perth today, but
No,
you're no longer.
I'm based here. I've got two kids here. Yeah.
All right, excuse me. I must have been looking at old interviews today doing my
All right.
research
No worries.
for that. Let's dive into the deep end. Why does the body matter? Let's keep it really broad and simple to start.
I think it's where we can get our clearest answers from. If we're really tending to the fire within and checking out how we're feeling and what we're experiencing and our desires instead of being really focused on the external and all the surface level stuff that goes on, actually going beneath the waves, beneath what you see into the unseen. The body is a pathway into that. The body is a pathway into the unconscious. The body is a pathway into what we truly long for, our intuition. To me, it's everything. And also, we're not this body. So there's that paradox. We're not this body, and yet this body, this breath, this movement, this sound, this stillness is a portal into everything really that we need to uncover in life in order to actually be happy if we dare make that our priority.
Is that your priority to be happy?
Well, it's to make the most out of life for sure and to live it as well as I can and not to be happy all the time because that's impossible. Life is peaks and valleys, but to have a consistent level of happiness. And I think a lot of
Mhm.
people they lose touch of why they're doing something because they're more connected to their phones and to the future than they are to actually checking out what's going on inside and feeling into actually right here, right now. What is here? What is here for me to open to receiving that's beautiful beyond all of this future oriented scenarios of what could be and striving for something? What if we stop dissociating? Because that's really where most people are. Most people are just living dissociated from the body, numb and just living in a sea of distraction, outward focus, addiction, habits, technology, all of that. And it's really not the place to be in if happiness is the priority. I don't think.
Makes total sense to me. So let's break a few of those parts down, right? So we are conditioned by our past. We have past traumas. Obviously this has become a popular topic in the last kind of, I'd say 5 to 10 years, particularly. And then on top of that, we've got just the technological side of things. That seems to have become accelerated. I don't see that changing. I was in the park yesterday and there was two boys just curled over their phones who didn't seem to have any awareness of this beautiful park we were sitting in. And I thought, oh God, it's sad, and they're growing up with it. So yeah, where do you want to go first? Trauma or technology?
Whichever one.
Let's start with the tech then, as I just was kind of a painful experience yesterday to see these two, I guess like 16-year-old boys, and it was clear that the world around them wasn't relevant even. It wasn't,
Mhm.
I think, and I saw a couple of guys in the gym doing the same thing. So even though they're in a place where they could be really feeling their bodies and in their bodies, they just weren't. They were again
Mhm.
between
Mhm.
every set, they immediately phones came out, wrapped into
Mhm.
that world rather than being with their bodies between the sets. And I I thought, God, even the guys who are going to the gym have that
Mm.
disembodiment. I'd love to get your thoughts on the impact of technology today.
I feel like it depends on who, like children like you. I just find that really, really sad. My oldest was homeschooled and my youngest goes to a Steiner school.
Mm.
And I actually, as well as having a law degree, I have a certificate for in anthroposophy and I did my honors in philosophy with a very keen interest in the incarnating soul and the journey of who we are, who we become. And part of what Steiner speaks into is that you really want children to grow from the inside out, not from the outside in. You want to foster something within them and enough spaciousness and presence with nature, with their own being, a rhythm of contraction and expansion that is a beautiful rhythm actually within them that's fostered. And what that means is it's like their imagination is guiding them, how they feel is guiding them, what they want to explore is guiding them. So there's this internal intuitive compass with children that's very natural. There's this internal ability that when energy starts to get full on, they can just throw a tantrum or cry or say, I need this, I need that, and release it. And a lot of that naturalness is just not there anymore because technology is filling all of the spaces for children to actually be able to, play in the sand and use their imagination or, go into nature and see the fairies and see the elves and build things. And one of my friends, her 4-year-old daughter just went to a birthday party where they got manicures and pedicures and facials and I just think technology, but everything, just
Yeah.
the stimulation from outside, like everything going in. And it was bad enough for us. I mean, I'm nearly 50. You're probably around somewhere near that.
Yeah.
And and really parties were like musical chairs, pass the parcel, go to a park. It was very simple. Life was simpler and it's getting more and more complex and there's more and more information. But if you think of just us at school, how much information's coming in and our minds are being penetrated by all of this knowledge and stimulation and theories and concepts, like where are we actually developing our uniqueness? Where are we expressing our uniqueness? And so that's my greatest concern with technology. Like I have to be on social media for my work, but I don't scroll. I don't really look at what anyone else is doing. I just post, but I do see the web of that and how addictive getting likes and comments can be for people, how comparing themselves to others, how meeting people in person has been replaced by chatting through the ethers on technology and having this delusional romance that doesn't exist, or this obsession with sales and clients and it's crazy. Like even just when I used to run workshops, it was so simpler before social media, word of mouth, and people
Mm.
would come to retreats who met me at circles and you put flyers around. So I feel like it's complicating things. It's making life even busier. It's creating more separation, more distraction. And above all, the most concerning thing is that it as a vessel of implanting our brains and our psyches and our beings with information rather than us finding our unique thoughts and feelings about things and shining whatever it is that we came here to shine into the world. I feel that's getting harder and harder with the
Mm. Mm.
with the progression of technology.
Nice to hear Steiner schools mentioned. A few of those in the UK. They seem to have had a good influence on some people I know. They're
Uh-huh,
quite
uh-huh.
place like Stroud, and they're quite kind of big in parts of the UK, but often never really take on in a way. People have these great ideas. Steiner schools aren't a new idea. These are sort of been around a while, and there's a few other movements, Montessori and different movements like it, but they often, yeah, don't seem to become mainstream somehow, despite some clear advantages. Curious about that. In terms of technology, though, like it's almost like a cliche now. Almost all the embodiment teachers who say the same thing. Social media is crazy. It does your head in, and it's Is it going to get to a point where it's so bad something snaps? Are we just going to evolve into something else? Are we just pissing in the wind, Chantel, as
I
people
think
try
I
to take
think
people back to their bodies?
I think it's just an extension of the issue that was already there. So I
Hmm.
don't think if you took away technology, the reason why people aren't embodied would suddenly disappear. And there are advantages to technology, of course. There's always advantages. It helps me be more embodied in some ways. In with AI, for instance, like my team now who know how to use it, I don't know how to use it,
Yeah,
but for tasks that are very menial and don't require unique spark, don't require proactive thought, but are more connected to data analysis or, just keeping everything going on the back end, that has just saved me so much time and energy
sure,
of
sure,
like,
can be useful.
spreadsheets used to having to be created, all of this delegation, these clear structures. It's like, okay, you know how to use AI, use it to help you, and I can be more hands off and live more in the world. And I think whoever you are, you're not you're going to everything outside is just going to exemplify what's already there. So if you've already have dissociation, if you're already numb, if you already don't know how to tend to the fire within you, and you're constantly seeking outward for your sense of peace, resolution, happiness, sexual pleasure, whatever it is, then technology is going to be even worse for you, right?
AI boyfriends and girlfriends, that seems to be the latest thing.
Yeah,
Have you
and
come
and
across
like,
that?
oh, it's fucking crazy. Sometimes my younger friends, they'll tell me about this new guy they're seeing, and we're talking. I'm like, so when are you seeing him? Oh, he lives in America. I'm like, why are you talking about this as if it's a relationship when he lives in America and you live in Perth? It's really just gobsmacking to me, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
However, typically speaking, someone who's interacting in online dating is also online all the time, is also removed. And I think that the biggest issue is how disconnected people are, of course, from their hearts and their bodies and their deepest longings. But if you're someone who does the inner work through embodiment, whether technology is there or not, you're still going to do that. If you're a seeker of truth, you're not going to let technology take you into even more dissociation. So I always say to people, don't use trauma as an excuse. Don't use technology as an excuse. Don't use the fact that you're a mum as an excuse, right? You have within you the capacity to live in alignment with something greater than your conditioning. You have the capacity within you to live in alignment with your ease, with your truth, with your service, with your pleasure. What are you choosing? And then where are you choosing to put your energy? Because where attention goes, energy flows. And where I'm interested in sending out my energy towards is service and has been for a very long time. And that's not just a selfless thing or like Mother Teresa complex or whatever. It's actually that's what brings me the most joy is seeing someone unfurl from the cage that they've put themselves in of not being able to feel or express themselves or have any kind of self-worth to know that they deserve the life that's in alignment with them and not someone else. Like watching that and seeing their face change, seeing their whole life change, there's no greater joy than that for me, other than my children and my family. So yeah, I feel like there's no one answer for everyone, but if you're listening and you know that technology is not good for you, or anything isn't good for you that you keep doing, don't focus on the thing. It's actually not it. You can
Yeah.
use you can use all of your willpower in the world to heal your addictions, to stop distracting, to not get sucked into technology, whatever. But will alone is not going to resolve it in an integrated way. You're going to go, yeah, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this sugar cleanse and then eat a shitload of sugar. I'm going to have a technology detox and announce to the fucking world that I'm not going to be on social media anymore. And then I'm back in a couple of weeks. It's like, can you live in the world and not be of the world? That's the question I'm interested in when I'm working with someone. It's not about removing yourself. It's about, can I be here now with everything that's going on and just be willing to keep tuning in and feeling what's true and what's alive?
Mm. What's your take on trauma?
It's real and life is traumatic. There's big traumas, and I've had my big traumas, there's soft traumas. I think that a lot of the awareness about trauma that has spread is a good thing in some ways, and nervous system regulation. And I think it goes way too over the top. I think that people are scared of re-traumatization without really knowing what re-traumatization means. And that actually anything that lives inside of us, when there is a safe space for radical aliveness, the body knows what's up. So my take on trauma is that people need to be less focused on what caused it and solving it and fixing it and going into childhood and talking about it till the cows come home. And, having these protocols, and I have respect for lots of different modalities.
Sure.
And I'm of the opinion that no single modality is ever the solution. It's a mixture
Right.
of
Yeah.
all of the amazingness, and my practitioner training is a synthesis of the very many modalities I've tried and tested and studied. And the reason being is because some people are at a point in their life where talking therapy is really useful and actually not going into
Yeah.
the book. If they're so dissociated, let's just get them talking about how they feel, right?
Beginning could be a good beginning. Yeah. And the
Be a
joke
good
we have,
beginning. Hypnosis. I grew up with my dad was an EFT master.
EFT, right? Yeah. Yeah.
And he was a hypnotist and like into everything. He had a library the size of Kazoo and was into every esoteric tradition you can imagine and
How
had been.
was that? How was that? I mean, my mum was a bit of a hippie. She did some yoga, but she
Oh,
wasn't. I mean, he must have been early days of EFT because that was only, it's only
yeah,
about
yeah,
20 years ago
yeah.
I found that was getting popularized. My team in Ukraine use it sometimes and still find it helpful and some variations of it. Yeah, how was that growing up with a dad who was like super into this esoteric stuff and embodiment stuff?
Well, it was amazing. I mean, the fact that he was also a massive business owner and a millionaire and like really taking care of his family helped. Like, I feel like I had the safety of him being a provider, which a lot of, I guess, the more hippie dads or esoteric dads, what I see is sometimes that's
Yeah.
missing. But it was amazing. It was like a very incredible download of what it means to embody a neutral mind and a level of consciousness that is in the constant remembering that anything that's not love is not real. What happened with me, though, when I got cervical cancer, and part of the reason I'm so passionate about embodiment is because our body talks to us. And the first real experience I had of that, like next level experience of that, was after I got my womb removed. And even beforehand, I started working with like a tantric shaman. I discovered how much my womb had to say. I discovered why the cancer was there. And I'm a true believer that, even if it's really obvious and we stub our toe and our toe hurts, it's not just the stub toe. It's our body's way of saying, you're not releasing. So you're going to stub your toe really hard so that you do. Or maybe you slow down and actually chill for 10 minutes. So, like, obviously, things are physical as well. But to me, there's always a physical, emotional, and energetic component to everything. And when I started to engage more with my womb, with Tantra, with my body, I realized that I'd pretty much completely abandoned my feminine and was not listening to her at all. Like every situation in my life, my practice was to transcend it. And then, but I kind of felt like a fraud. I was doing these big sales seminars, helping with personal development. I was working for Australian Scholarship Group. and everyone's self-employed. Now, for me, it's really easy to stay on focus and positive attitude, get up, do what you need to do, momentum, have a good schedule, time prioritization, good thoughts, meditate, all of that. So I was teaching all of that. But actually, whenever I was forced into a more feminine state, particularly once I became a mother, which was 22 years ago. And then with my second child, which was around the time I got the cancer, I couldn't really deny this anxiety, this kind of that I was so ashamed of. I'm like, fuck, I'm talking about all this. And then at nighttime, I would just feel this anxiety and I had no idea what to do with it. I didn't know that I could just breathe into it, welcome it, shake a little, follow the natural impulses of my body, let out some sound, and see what's up. Like now, that's what I would do. And sometimes it shifts into a deeper feeling of rage, anger, disappointment, grief, which then also has a message for me. Like, I'm a fucking no to this. Why do I keep saying yes? Or I actually need more support. Or, I need some time off. But like, what I used to do was just negate that experience, think I'm really bad for feeling anxious. I shouldn't be feeling anxiety. Life is painful. Suffering is optional. Why aren't I in the eternal peace of the Buddha? Basically, I was reading books about Buddhism at a very early age and had kids stories that had the messages of Buddhism in it. And then when I found Tantra and I could finally just like let it out and I could finally breathe into the tension and the anxiety and just, feel how fucking scared I was actually. Feel how angry I was that I had to go back to work with my second child. Feel how pissed off I was at my mum. Feel how absolutely terrified I was of men because I've been sexually abused and all of this stuff. I didn't even remember the sexual abuse till I got into Tantra. So I feel like the most simple truths are always the most profound. And what I've discovered through talking to different organs in my body, meeting different emotions in my body, actually listening to their messages instead of distracting away from it, is three really important things. And probably the most important thing is, wow, when you're not numbing out from pain and you're actually feeling it, you suddenly have so much more capacity to receive beauty and pleasure. So all of a sudden, when I was feeling all of this, like pre-Tantra, I was very intellectual, academic, doing all the courses, being a mum, doing all the good things. And I didn't actually realize how infrequent the moments were where I could just rest, soften, exhale, and actually be awake in this beautiful dream where there is so much beauty, so much love, and feel it all the way. Feel it all the way. So much gratitude overflowing, so much life force overflowing, so much more connection to my pussy, to my womb, to my heart. Like, wow. And I wasn't expecting that. So, one of the beautiful rememberings from the first time I had that moment was me really telling myself, wow, there is so much pleasure to be felt when we are actually feeling. That was a revelation for me.
Nice revelation to have. So
Yeah.
love it. Love your message. So earlier you kind of alluded to your father being a good provider and perhaps a certain degree of spiritual, what I call spiritual bypassing. Often
Mhm.
Tantra involves talking about sex, not always. I know it's much bigger than that, but let's say it's one of the practices that includes that. It doesn't reject that part of life. But
Mhm.
I want to go a different direction. It's money, as you kind of alluded to the bypassing of that people can have, particularly in the kind of counterculture world, right? That there's and a lot of my students struggle with business. They struggle with making money.
Mhm.
What's the Tantra of money, Chantelle?
I'm not sure it's the Tantra of money, but for someone who is a keen devotee of Tantra, as well as other things that I can't help synthesizing into this answer, I would say that the macrocosmic orbit that you learn in Tantra, where when you're connecting with someone, you're actually receiving their energy into your body. And then you're giving energy. So for a woman, we're receiving a man into our yoni, up into our hearts, and then we're giving our love from our hearts into them. And then they're receiving into their hearts, and then they're penetrating through their cock. And there's this beautiful circulation of energy. And I kind of, once you ask that question, I feel money like that. Like the more that I am filling my cup and I'm in the overflow of inspiration, generosity, my unique soul, my unique expression. I'm receiving life, I'm receiving love, I'm receiving the money that I actually fucking have and how lucky I am to be in Australia and right now a bomb not going off somewhere or my daughter being at risk of being taken as a sex slave. When I'm actually feeling the abundance that's here, when I'm tuned to myself, when I'm overflowing, then it naturally comes back to me, a lot of it. And whenever I'm out of alignment, whenever I'm not aligning with service, whenever I'm trying to take opportunities to make money or follow someone's marketing strategy or do this or do that, money stops. Every single time I've had my biggest months, I've been on holidays with my kids and my beloved in a camper van traveling around Europe or Hawaii or Australia. And it's all well and good to say, like, just live the life that you would have if you're got the amount of money that you want. Like bring that felt sense into your body, right? And I do agree with that. Like it's important to whatever you're manifesting, bring the felt sense of who you are in that picture. However, that's not the total picture. I feel like the biggest picture in all of this and in the money conversation is that if I'm if money is going to serve me and I'm committed to the service that I'm here for, money will flow in abundantly. It's also being open to maybe there are times in your life when you're not meant to have a lot of money. Who knows? It's like not being attached to money as the answer is part of this. Because, the day that I bought my first house at 22, I've had four houses. And then suddenly at 41, I've sold everything and I'm just devoting to life. And at the age of 42, I had less in my account than since I'd been 18, right? But I was prioritizing my alignment. I was prioritizing my emotional, energetic, sexual health. I was prioritizing my joy. And then, wow, lo and behold, as synchronicity would have it, I have a life-changing conversation and moment that turns everything around. And within a week, I have 60 grand in my bank account. And somehow the codes to keep making more and more money. Right after, 6 months before that, I was ready to relinquish it all and just go, you know what? Chasing money, chasing status, getting bigger, all of this stuff, what's the point if I'm not happy now? If and
Mm, mm, mm.
one of the things that I'm dedicated to since that period in my life is trusting spirit. Like actually, really though, trusting that if I am in full alignment, if I'm doing my inner work and taking the action that's required when I'm listening to my womb, when I'm listening to my anger, when I'm listening to the parts of me that's saying like, have a fucking break and I'm really prioritizing what this body is sending to me as messages. I know that spirit's going to look after me. So with money, with everything, right? And I don't know if that answers your
That's
question.
great. I mean, it's definitely interesting. I like the rant. It's good. I'm curious about the nuts and bolts of the Embodied Awakening Academy. You know, as someone else who runs an embodied coaching school, it looks like you guys do pretty different stuff from us, which puts me in this sort of nice position that I can be super curious without feeling like I'm talking to a direct competitor, but maybe someone that's got a bit of a Venn diagram of crossover. Like, what are the main things you guys are teaching there?
So we have like a signature retreat, living Tantra retreat, a weekend fundamentals of Tantra. We've got 20 online courses, a practitioner training. It's like every element of the human experience you can imagine. Sexuality, soul-centered business, igniting your power, shadow work,
It's a
following
lot
your.
there. Big offer.
It's huge. It's huge. And I'm glad that I was so inspired to create a lot and very determined at the one stage in my life, because now I've written so much. I've written so many manuals, recorded so many videos, and now I'm at a stage where I can't even do any of that stuff anymore. And I'm actually writing my first fiction book,
Oh,
which is
nice, nice. I mean, yeah,
exciting.
there is a certain, I think me and you are in a similar stage of career. You know, I'm 45, you're a little bit older, and it's where you've kind of put a lot of hustle in, a lot of yang, a lot of work. And now I'm just like, oh, I just want to live in the woods and have kids and have dogs. And, you know, there's a certain, I've got some books out there, I've got some podcasts out there. I still do podcasts, but it's very relaxed. And yeah, there's different stages in career, certainly.
Mm.
What are the main like actual tools you're teaching? I mean, is it mostly trauma healing? I mean, I imagine it's a huge range of stuff, but I'm just curious about the sort of nuts and bolts of it.
I would say it's like, first of all, just the simple tool of human connection and love, and like just being able to say to someone, whether it's in a workshop, retreat, online course, conversation, whatever, you get to just be you. Like whatever's here is okay. You get to be sad and cry, you get to have fantasies and tell me about them, you get to just be you. Like, what's here? Let's check it all out. Right. So there's a commute, and let's check it out with everyone. And can you share pain with the brother and sister next to you? Can you share pleasure with the brother and sister next to you? And realize we're all the fucking same. We're all souls who know oneness. And then we incarnate into this flesh suit that puts us automatically into somewhat of a state of separation. And then we constantly want to remember. And some people do that consciously, some people do that more unconsciously. But that's what we're all trying to do. So I'm saying, let's get together. Let's do it consciously. Let's share pain. Let's share pleasure. Let's create a safe space where radical aliveness is completely allowed. And you can just share, talk, feel. And so the second thing is like, there's the community aspect, there's the loving presence without agenda, just do you. And then there's this, okay, now with that sore back that you've been having and the sore shoulders and the constant gut problems and the headaches and the exhaustion, what if all of that is an accumulation of stuck emotional energy in the body that hasn't been discharged from trauma in the past, from trauma now? It doesn't really matter. It's about what's here now. Oh, okay. Sadness. Can we just feel that? And we don't have to fix it. Oh, okay. And if we feel that for a while, what's here now? Oh, there's some anger. And then what's here now? And slowly but surely, all the suppressed emotions that are underneath a lot of the collapse of the physical body or the overdrive, people tend to either go into overdrive and into the dysregulated sympathetic state of just, too much adrenaline, or a dysregulated state of parasympathetic. Most people think parasympathetic is just a good thing and sympathetic is a bad thing. What a load of fucking shit. Sympathetic's
Yeah,
great sometimes. Otherwise, you
yeah,
don't get anything done. And parasympathetic is dissociation a lot of the time. It's
yeah. I
withdrawal,
see a lot of shut down people
protecting, it's
in this.
shutting down. Now, those people get less flack than the adrenaline people, because the adrenaline people tend to,
They're
ah,
running.
and yeah, and the shutdown people tend to run. nevertheless, it's a dysregulated state. So what I'm interested in is activating the body enough to discharge whatever is in the body that's been frozen over time, that couldn't be felt. The rage, the no, the yes, the I need this, I need that, the talking to the mother, talking to the father, talking to your organs, whatever. Like, let's fucking get in there and get real,
It's
right?
nice to hear some good Aussie swearing on the podcast. We have too many American guests, so any Aussies out there who want to come on the podcast, be brave, get in touch.
I don't know if that's an Australian quality or
Oh,
my
it's definitely
specific,
it's definitely an Aussie
whatever it
one. And there's a
is.
few countries. I mean, my family are Irish. We swear a lot too, but it's definitely an Aussie one.
Uh-huh.
Like I've definitely seen that
Mhm.
with guests and with staff. Are most of your
Uh-huh.
trainings in Australia out of interest, or are you most of the sort of
Yeah, I
face-to-face
do.
ones?
I
Yeah,
definitely, I do weekends, I do trainings. I don't want to miss the other part of this, which is how important integration is. So what I see
yeah,
in a lot of Tantra or more primal environments is that, oh, great, let's all get wild, let's all get alive, let's start
yeah.
screaming, let's start feeling finally. But there's not enough meditation, there's not enough integration, there's not enough knowledge of the nervous system, of trauma, of meditative principles, of wholeness to actually guide something back into safety where after there's been a huge release of
Right, right. And that can
pain
feel great. It's super
and
seductive, sexy
rage
stuff, the trauma
and
release
come back,
stuff. Yeah,
what now?
yeah, yeah.
Like I can sit there and go, I want to be fucking taken care of for the first time in my life. I don't want to take care of anyone. And I can scream and cry and rant and rave and talk to my mother who I had to look after, talk to my husband who I had to look after, talk to my children who I had to, and that's great. I'm getting it all out. I'm realizing how much pain is there. Maybe after I collapse and cry and feel the vulnerability of that. And that's all beautiful. But it's not the end. The process isn't complete until I can give that back, until I can say, you know what? I don't, sorry, Dad, take the caretaker and selfless service back. Sometimes I do want to think of me. Sometimes
Yes.
I don't want to tune into everyone else. Mum, take back the responsibility for your emotional body. I'm not responsible for it. I'm not the light in your life. You are the light in your life. Take that back. Or maybe what I need to reclaim is it's safe to be in my body. It's okay to feel what I'm feeling. And it's safe to express this through me, not towards someone. Or whatever the lesson is of the session, like my session, my spaces, they all have an invocation element where I'm acknowledging what's beyond 3D, where I'm acknowledging spirit, I'm acknowledging the land, but truly fucking acknowledging it and feeling the power of it and connecting people to it, bringing it into the space, knowing that forces seen and unseen are working with me to support the evolution of humanity. And then the conversation and connecting people, that the community aspect I was sharing with you. Then yes, some activation. And I love to bring music in, live music. I play instruments. I always have musicians with me playing instruments, but not playing instruments for performance, but instruments to, help really uncurl those places of longing and rage and fear and all that stuff I was talking about. And then after the activation, where maybe there's more percussion instruments and lots of energy at the integration phase, I'll often have someone on my support team with the handpan, the flute, more air instruments just coming back, whatever I'm feeling they need to integrate the experience, making the integration quite lengthy. They're being a meditative component to that of silence and stillness, because actually, after activation, the clarity that can come in the stillness is actually phenomenal. Actually phenomenal. So I'm I've come up with all my best ideas in those times. And what I realized whenever I used to meditate pre-tantra, it was, I had my timer there and I was very focused, and the buzz, any kind of buzz that I felt in my body that needed discharging, I didn't know about that then. So I was having to use a lot of discipline to stay with the breath and stay in stillness. It wasn't a natural conclusion. being in meditation.
Mhm.
However, I feel like when you go into meditation, after you've discharged a lot of energy, it is the natural conclusion. It's like, if you try to sit down to
Stop.
meditate,
There's a
well,
wave there,
just
right?
stop.
Yeah.
Pardon?
There's a wave there, like the kind of five rhythms principle. If you go up and then you go down, and there's a place of peace on the other side of the chaos. Like rather than just trying to sit and meditate and get to peaceful from sort of normal modernity stress, which is maybe a bit too much to ask.
Well, it's also, I feel like it's more than that. It's actually, if you're using the activation to burn what's underneath the stories that are running in your mind, then you're empty enough. So, if I sit down to meditate and I'm really pissed off with my partner, I'm just going to keep running the story over in my head of the conversation we had, the conversation we're going to have, what he's done, what he's not done, and just like
Mhm.
trying desperately to witness that. But if I'm not following the story and I'm not resisting the story, but I'm just going back to my body, where's the tension? Here it is. Oh, what's this reminding me of? Feeling all of that. Actually, I am empty afterwards. Right. And then there is that meditative state. And it's not to say you can't meditate without activation, of course. I've had beautiful meditations in my life when there's already a 0 point or a level of peace. I can go to the beach and just sit, and open-eyed meditation or closed. So there's this space available for us after activation. If there's a lot of stories running around in our head, there's space for us if we're at peace to just come in. But what's common about both of those spaces of meditation, besides the obvious and how good everyone knows meditation is for you, is that actually your download opens and you can actually receive. It's like in spirito, inspiration. You can let spirit in. And often I never know what I'm going to teach or what I'm going to say in life and in my job. But what I'll always do is empty out as much as possible so that what's meant to come through me can come through me. And whatever reason I'm here at a soul level can be actualized
Chantelle, we
without.
need to wrap up in a few minutes, I'm afraid, talking about sort of being empty. Let's do, before we tell people where to find you, I'm going to go for like an unusual question. One word answer, one or two words. What is the biggest load of bullshit in the Tantra, trauma, or personal growth world?
A lot of pressure, the biggest load of bullshit in all of that.
Or a
There's,
big load of
there's
bullshit,
so
if it's a
much
bit less
bullshit
pressure.
as well as beauty. Um,
What's something that you just go, I just want to name enough of that right now. You know, you've been in this scene for a long time. You're super experienced. You've been around the block. You've seen the different trends come and go. What's like, I'm done with that, Mahat.
that any one practice or thing that anyone recommends, whether it be in regards to sexuality, relationship, nervous system regulation, whatever, is a fit for everyone. That's the biggest
No,
load of bullshit.
yeah, there's no the answer, right? The answer. Yeah, people are
Mm.
usually just selling something when they say there is. Good. Chantel, where can people find you?
Embodied Awakening Academy.com.
Nice website. Just been
Raven
there.
on Instagram, Embodied Awakening on Instagram, a Sex, Love, Freedom podcast.
Sex, Love, Freedom podcast as well, right? Okay,
Mhm.
great. Chantel, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Mark. Have a wonderful, is it day there?
Yeah, beginning of the day.